What's up, y'all? Hope everybody out there is having an awesome day. I have some massive, colossal, gargantuan breaking news here for you. So we're going to get to Epstein in a little bit. It appears like somebody went into his cell right before he killed himself. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I have other Epstein updates as well. But before we get to that, guys, this is crazy, but the Democratic Tea Party is officially in full effect. I mean, you could say it started with Zoran Mamdani, but where we are right now, we are ascendant, and there's no way around it. So yesterday, we had an election, New Jersey's 11th district, and the Bernie, AOC, and Warren-backed candidate wound up winning. But the thing that makes it particularly interesting here is that this is a district where, in theory, this candidate has no business winning whatsoever. Okay, so there were basically three main candidates here. There was Tanisha Way, who's backed by Aipac and the Israel lobby. There was Tom Malinowski, who's a moderate Democrat who mildly criticized Israel back when he was in Congress, where he said, yeah, maybe we should condition aid because they seem to be doing a lot of war crimes. So Aipac saw this moderate guy say that, and they said, oh, hell no. So they decided to spend massively against him in attack ads and try to boost Tanisha Way, okay? But then you also had Analilia Mejia was running, again, as the left flank candidate, the most progressive option, and she wound up winning. So all the spending done by AIPAC and the Israel lobby against Malinowski, it did hurt him, but it didn't help their shitty candidate, Tanisha Way, and so the Bernie-backed candidate, the Democratic Socialist, wound up winning. So this is incredible, incredible stuff. Let me give you some more of a breakdown here. Turnout was colossal. 61,000 or more votes, and that's at least 10,000 higher than the presidential primary, y'all. Than the presidential primary. So this is, Democrats are fired up and ready to go, and they are going for the most progressive option. So more on this district, which again indicates how this candidate, in theory, has no business winning in this district. It's a very wealthy district. It's 97th percentile when it comes to wealth. They're a very educated district, 96th percentile. Very Gen X district, 97th percentile in that. And there's a lot of homeowners in this district. 72% of people in this district are homeowners. So there's no way around it. This was like the poster child for a district where a moderate Democrat or even a right-leaning Democrat or like a Zionist Democrat, that they could do good there. They should do well there, right? Instead, what happened? The exact opposite. The Bernie AOC candidate won. This is a candidate, by the way, she was talking about how there's a genocide in Gaza like a week into the genocide. She was early to it. She was quick to it. And she was right about it every step of the way. And this is the candidate that won. So it really looks like the people in this district were looking up, hey, who is the most progressive candidate? What's the most progressive option? And then they got their answer, and they went and they voted for her. So shout out to her. Absolutely, absolutely tremendous. I'm telling you, this is a shot across the bow, man. This is only the beginning. It's only up from here when it comes to the Democratic Tea Party. And every Democrat thinking of running in 2028 for president, you need to take fucking notes that this is a different era. You need to be angry, pissed off. There needs to be rage. I mean, you need to go all in, fighting the billionaires, fighting the Zionists, fighting the fascists, fighting the warmongers. There's no way around it. All right, let me give you some more here. So this is really interesting. Blueprint polls decided to test Democratic Party vision statements. And the number one vision statement that tested best with Democratic voters right now is fighting. You have to fight. It's all about fight, fight, fight. Destroy the right, destroy the fascist, destroy the warmongers. And this is exactly the mood that we've been telling you about, right? This is exactly, this is exactly the way to win. If you want to win, you got to be angry, you got to be pissed off, you have to have the right villains, okay? You can't do, the Republicans have their villains. They say it's immigrants, they say it's trans people, they say it's liberals, right? And your reaction to that can't be some bullshit 2008 style politics of like, let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and we're all Americans, and there's no red states and blue states, there's only the United States of America. No, the way you fight fire is with fire. They scapegoated the wrong perpetrators, you scapegoat the right ones. You target the billionaires, you target the fascists, you target the warmongers. And so perhaps unsurprising that the poll showed that. But now let's talk a little bit about what Trump is up to. I mean, holy shit, man. Every time you wake up, you think, okay, we had to have hit rock bottom, right? We had to have, because there's so much dirt on this man. There's so many scandals on a regular basis that you think like they can't actually go any lower, can they? Well, it turns out Trump indeed can do that, and he did. So I'm sure you've all seen this by now, but Trump decided to repost a video on Lie Social, and in that video, it included both Michelle Obama and Barack Obama as apes, as literal monkeys. You freeze frame the video, you pause the video at like 59 seconds, it's about a minute and 2 seconds long, and very clearly you see Michelle Obama and Barack Obama as monkeys. Tasteless doesn't even begin to describe this man. Let's be honest, he's a fat, pedophile, rapist, war criminal, corrupt goon. Okay? He's as low as they come. But this even is a bridge too far for some of the soulless Republicans. I should also say, after he posted this thing comparing the former president and the former first lady to fucking monkeys, yes, because they're black, that's why he did this, right? He then went on to post a video, I'm not kidding about this, that accused the Democratic Party of being anti-black. Yes, accused Democrats of being racist immediately after you post the Obamas as monkeys. I'm sure that'll go over well. I'm sure that'll land well. But it gets more interesting from there, because the White House, first they came out and said, oh, shut the fuck up. This is fake outrage. It's just a video meme from The Lion King. Stop with the bullshit. Nobody's actually upset about this. So that's what, whatever the fuck her name is, the blonde-haired woman that has way too much plastic surgery and she's married to like a 78-year-old even though she's like in her 20s or early 30s. That's what she said. I don't know why I'm blanking on her name right now. But then the White House came out soon thereafter and actually said, oh, wait, our bad. Forget everything we said before. This actually was erroneously posted by some staffer. Caroline Levitt, that's the idiot's name. Oh, our bad. No. It wasn't, Trump didn't post it. It was somebody else who posted it. One of the staffers just posted it. So then everybody was like, well, hold on now. A random staffer is allowed to post videos directly to Trump's account at all hours through the night? What? So they replaced one scandal with another scandal. But, the second thing is not really a scandal because everybody knows he's lying. All he does is lie. Everybody knows that's a lie. Everybody knows they're basically desperately trying to save face now. Desperately trying to save face. So, what happened as a result of this? Well, of course, like every Democrat in the country was just like, look at this sick, disgusting motherfucker. But you had even some Republicans are coming out and going, you know what? Okay, a little much, right? So Tim Scott, one of the few black Republicans at the top of the party, theoretically, who, by the way, Trump snubbed giving him a job in the regime. He snubbed him. Tim Scott did anything and everything for Trump. Trump still wound up snubbing him. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why he wound up snubbing Tim Scott. Well, Tim Scott comes out and says, praying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The president should remove it. Look, I guess I'm happy that he's coming out and saying, hey, this is kind of fucked up, but at the same time, it was literally like, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they were screaming about how Somalis are all low IQ and Somalis are all pirates, and like 90% of Somalis have literally committed fraud. So for you to say, this is racist. Can you believe there's racism coming from the president? Like, bro, really? This motherfucker was sued in the 1980s for literal housing discrimination, okay? How can you be surprised by this? The fucking Central Park 5 thing, everybody knows about the Central Park 5 thing. He was calling for, basically capital punishment for a bunch of black and brown kids who wound up being totally innocent, okay? He has a track record of horrible race politics. I mean, he's like an old school racist, and he's an old school misogynist. He was screaming at Caitlin Collins the other day, why don't you ever smile? You should smile, toots. Like when he said, quiet, piggy, to the female reporter. Like, this is who this guy is. He's like an old school racist and an old school sexist. Like, there is no plausible deniability. But now all of a sudden, oh shit, it turns out there's gambling in this establishment. Oh, really? Or did you just figure that out all by yourself? Wow, what a big boy you are, Tim Scott. You figured it out. Turns out Donald Trump is racist. Shocker. So unbelievable. But Tim Scott came out and said something. You also had U.S. Representative Mike Turner. He said, I do not feel the need to respond to every inflammatory statement made by the White House. Oh, really? I couldn't tell. You never say anything about any of the inflammatory shit. However, the release of racist images of former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama is offensive, heartbreaking, and unacceptable. President Trump should apologize. And so I believe as of right now, as I'm talking to you, I believe there were about 5 Republican senators and about 5 Republicans in the House that have said, you know what, dude, you really should come out and apologize. Which, by the way, let's be honest, those numbers are fucking embarrassing and it's fucking pathetic because you're still talking about, like, what, 97% of the Republican elected officials are looking at this, probably giggling and enjoying it, you know, and even the ones who are condemning it. Basically, the issue they have with this is like, hey, asshole, you're supposed to leave us some plausible deniability. You're supposed to leave us some wiggle room, okay? When you go after Ilhan Omar in a racist way, you know, we all can rationalize that and pretend like, oh no, he's only saying low IQ because he actually thinks Ilhan herself is low IQ. It's not about all Somalis. It's not about, even though he calls Somalis low IQ all the time. But like, they leave a little bit of wiggle room where they have plausible deniability, where they can pretend like, oh no, we're good people. We're not racist. We just hate these particular black people. But this, like, you ripped the mask off. You ripped it off way too aggressively. The mask slipped hard body karate. And so now they're like, God damn it, I guess we have to issue a statement. But, you know, they're not going through the route of apologizing. They're going with, oh, it was some staffer who we're not even going to name because it wasn't a staffer, and we're going to, and they posted it, and Trump knew nothing about it. And, I mean, it's just, there's zero accountability. I told you guys, look up DARVO, D-A-R-V-O. That is the strategy that this regime uses. Trump literally learned it from the mafia lawyer, Roy Cohn, when he said, look, you never admit any fault whatsoever and always go on the offense aggressively. And that's what Trump did. That's what Trump has done his entire life, which is why you feel like you want to pull your hair out when you hear him talk and when you hear his excuses, because you know he's full of shit. You know that he knows he did some fucked up shit and he doesn't care. He just flips the narrative, goes on the offense nonstop. And so that's why I don't expect much else to come out of this. But by the way, great stuff. When Trump's approval rating is at 36%, a good time to become even more unhinged, even more authoritarian, and make it so it drops to like 32%. Congratulations. And this is what happens with authoritarians. And he's also, I think, genuinely senile, and he probably has early Alzheimer's. But like, yeah, this is what happens, bro, is when they lose power, they start to grip onto it harder, right? And here we are, and it's only going to get worse from here. All right, let me give you guys some more. Scoop, Trump's FBI summoned state election officials from across the country for an unusual briefing on preparations for the midterms, according to emails I obtained. It's the strangest thing in the world, one top state election official told me. So this is a guy from Matt Berg from Crooked Media, and what he's talking about here is, it looks like there's some organization happening behind the scenes, but this isn't even really behind the scenes anymore, it's in front of the scenes now, where they're trying to effectively set up stealing the election. For the FBI to summon state election officials for the election, the federal government's not supposed to have anything to do with elections. This is a state-run thing. But they're now having the federal government involved. Why? For the exact reason you think. It's the exact same reason why Tulsi Gabbard went to Fulton County in Georgia and seized the ballots. Like, they are planning what to do in 2026 and probably in 2028. And they are going to try to cut corners. They're going to try to cheat. They're going to try to put their thumb on the scale. Everybody needs to be aware of it. Everybody needs to be ready for it because they're not hiding it. That's why Trump keeps saying stuff like, we shouldn't even have an election when you really think about it. We shouldn't even have an election. Now you have the FBI, Kash Patel's FBI, meeting with election officials at the state level. And then you also have sloppy Steve Bannon coming out and saying, we're going to send ICE thugs to the polling places. Like, no, they're broadcasting it, bro. They are broadcasting it. You got to wake up. You got to realize what's happening. And then don't even get me started on the SAVE Act, which they just proposed. I think it's the SAVE Act. It's basically an attempt to create the strictest voting laws ever, and in order to do ballot spoiling and ballot purging and kick a bunch of people off the ballots. That's exactly what ICE is doing when they're going around recording people, the observers. What they do is they put them in a database, consider them domestic terrorists, and also they kick them off the voter rolls. And so if you're out there and you're protesting ICE, make sure you check your voter registration because they're actively kicking people off the voter rolls if they think you're a Democrat and they think all of the observers are Democrats. So just absolutely devastating stuff. And prepare yourself for what's coming, because there's no way they're going to go silently into the night. It's not going to happen. But at the same time that's happening, Trump's approval rating among white voters turned negative for the first time in his entire presidency. So as you all know, the people that consistently have the worst politics in the country as a demographic group, it's old white men, right? And, you know, anytime you look at a polling breakdown by demographics, you know, you generally see the further away you get from being a white man, the more the Democrats' numbers go up. Well, so white voters have been like the core solid block of pro-Trump voters that really propelled him to victory multiple times. Well, now for him to go negative among white voters is just, I mean, homie is cooked beyond imagination. Now there's nobody left. Now there's nobody left. All the gains he made with Hispanics, gone and then some. All the gains he made with independents, all the gains he made with young people, gone and then some. And now you're losing white voters? White voters? Really? So it's a sign, bro. People are fed up. People are sick of it. And yeah, they are, they're a mess. They're a mess. The regime is a mess. And again, I don't see them making a comeback in any way. But that's not to say that the opposition is doing good, because the opposition is pathetic, I think is the best word to use here. But Chuck Schumer was on Morning Joe, and he said that ICE should be allowed to wear masks in, quote, unusual circumstances. He said, you know, some guy's picture was put up by a terrorist group or something. Bro, what? What are you talking about? Well, they consider Antifa to be a terrorist group. Even though they're not actually a terrorist group, they consider Antifa to be a terrorist group. Okay? So what Chuck Schumer is doing here is backing off of something that's bare minimum, bro. Bare minimum. Wearing masks as a public servant is not a thing. When you think of like police officers, for example, if one of them does something fucked up, you get their name, you get their badge number immediately. You can file something to say, hey, you know, I have a complaint. There was excessive force or whatever it may be. But the ICE Gestapo thugs, they're little bitches, and they're hiding their faces because they know they're committing crimes. And Chuck Schumer initially said, you need to show your face, full stop. And now he's saying, well, God, well, I guess in some circumstances, I guess you can kind of maybe sort of not, cover your face if there's some real extreme circumstances where an Antifa super soldier is coming after you. Oh, God. Like, bro, really? Like, what did I tell you guys? They had a list of like 10 demands of like, hey, here's what needs to happen in order for Democrats to vote for any DHS funding. But the list of demands, none of it touches the funding. But the funding was just skyrocketed to over $100 billion by the big bullshit bill that they passed in the summer. So now you would need a 66% cut to DHS funding to just get it back to 2024 levels. The only way you can actually make a dent and leave an impact on the ICE Gestapo thugs is if you defund the DHS or massively cut the DHS. And that wasn't even a demand of Trump, of Chuck Schumer. It wasn't even a demand. They said like, oh, give me some masks and you need warrants, which by the way, that's already the law according to the Constitution of the supreme law of the land, that they need warrants and they're not using warrants. So why would, you're just like making a deal with them for them to follow the Constitution, which they need to follow anyway? No, this is fucking crazy. You have to cut their funding. So Chuck Schumer embarrassing himself, these like minimal demands that he made, he's already negotiating against himself already with those. He's just not fit, bro. You got to step aside. You got to retire. It's over. It's done. You're useless. Then he was out there the other day giving a speech saying, I'll make sure we give more money to Israel and we give them all the money they need. It's like, bro, read the fucking room. Read the room. Like 90% of the Democratic base is like, fuck Israel, and they're doing a genocide. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care because he's bought and owned by the Israel lobby, okay? So he doesn't care. So he'd rather represent the donor class. He'd rather represent Zionists than he would Democratic voters who are now saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? We want nothing to do with Israel anymore. Just absolutely crazy stuff, man. All right, let me continue here. So we have a new Senate report that came out. I believe Bernie was the one who commissioned this report. And it breaks down the data from all of the cuts under the Trump regime, okay? So there was a total of $561 million in NIH research cuts that kicked into effect. And listen to this. 116 cancer grants, cut. 65 Alzheimer's grants, cut. 68 grants for diabetes, cut. 71 heart disease grants, cut. So in other words, 304 clinical trials were disrupted and cut. 69 of those 304 were pediatric trials. So as a direct result of this, 800,000 patients have been negatively affected because of Donald Trump, because of Elon Musk, because of the bullshit fucking Doge cuts. And this is the exact problem with Republican politics and Republican governance, is they very simply put, do not give a single solitary shit about you. They don't even give a fart about you, never mind a shit about you. They don't care. What do they do every time they get power? What's the one thing that it is guaranteed that these motherfuckers do? Cut taxes for the rich and raise taxes for the bottom 90%. They did it in Trump's first term. They're doing it in Trump's second term, okay? What's the other thing? Guaranteed massive increase to the military-industrial complex. More Pentagon spending. Well, guess what? They can't account for 63% of their money, and they failed 8 audits in a row. So that is just a fucking black hole that they throw money into. Meanwhile, they're cutting Medicaid. They're cutting Social Security. They're cutting Medicare. They're coming after the SNAP money. And now we know they're coming after all this research money. So the United States, as a hub of science and research, is now gone. It is just gone. And that has horrible consequences, including fewer scientists wanting to come here, the best and the brightest no longer wanting to be associated with us. People are already afraid of being, rounded up by ICE and sent to a concentration camp, so they just don't want to come to this country anymore. And now you have brain drain on top of that, and this is one of the reasons why all of these funding cuts, just absolutely horrific. And by the way, Elon Musk should be in prison for all the illegal Doge cuts that he did. Motherfucker's worth $850 billion, and he's cutting pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels. Okay, totally illegally. He has no right to be in there, but he was in there doing that stuff. So he should be locked up as a result of that. We also have this new report that came out. The typical U.S. worker only has $955 saved for retirement. That is insane. The typical U.S. worker only has $955 saved for retirement. Another way of saying that is the typical U.S. worker can't retire. They don't have the ability to retire. They don't have the money to retire. See, this is what happens when you have massive income and wealth inequality, when it's literally worse than the Gilded Age. This is what happens. Again, I don't know how people can even consider retiring given those numbers, but maybe that's the reality. Maybe they're not. They're not considering that. Obviously we have Social Security, but that's not enough to really fully live on if you don't have a little nest egg as well. But what would you expect from a country where the bottom 80% of Americans only hold 7% of the wealth? That's an actual fact. The bottom 50% of Americans only hold 2.6% of the wealth. The top 1% holds 30% of the wealth. Things are incredibly out of whack, and it cannot continue like this. So obviously what needs to happen is a massive increase in taxes on the wealthy. And then yes, you need to redistribute that and give people a chance at a decent life. Give people health care. Give people education, okay? Give people paid time off by law. These are all very basic things that other social democratic countries have, and we act like they're fucking impossible here. No, they're possible. We just have a government that represents the billionaires and represents the corporations, which is why we never get what we want. Never. All right, more. So Vice has a piece out. A Palantir co-founder is pushing laws to criminalize homeless encampments nationwide. Model legislation banning unsanctioned encampments and restricting funding to permanent housing has found traction in multiple states. So this is literally just it's illegal to be homeless, but instead of helping you out and putting a roof over your head, we're going to just arrest you. We're going to arrest you and spend a bunch of tax money to lock you up in a cage. That's what this is. And so it's just insane that this is going on right now. Since 2020, rent has increased about 40%, and most Americans can't afford to buy homes. So homelessness at the same time has increased 32%. So as Laura Myers says on Twitter, as we see emails between Epstein and the elite that plot how to end poor people, I think about 2023 when Palantir Bros began pushing laws to criminalize homeless encampments. Then blue states brought back forced institutionalization after it was banned in the late 60s. Media called it a homelessness measure. Private equity simultaneously hijacked the mental health and addiction and troubled kids industries. Utah is building the first forced labor camp. It's also terribly evil. So criminalize poverty, right? Criminalize homelessness, round those people up, put them against their will in a mental institution, or put them in effectively a forced labor camp, which, by the way, goes hand in hand with the ICE Gestapo camps that they're building, which are also literal concentration camps. Okay? Things are looking fucking dire, man. They are looking dire. This fascist turn is happening at a rapid clip, and we need to stand up and fight back against it. All right, some more. More Perfect Union posted this here. My landlord remotely controlled my heating. It was so cold, I could see my breath. A growing number of renters say they are living in freezing homes because their landlords use apps to keep temperatures low and save money on bills. This should not be legal. This simply should not be legal. This should not be allowed. It's insane that this is allowed. By the way, this is what happens when you let capitalism run amok. When you don't regulate the capitalists and the billionaires and the scumbags, this is what happens. They cut corners. They do anything and everything to pinch pennies to make more money. All they care about is their bottom line. They don't care about people. They don't care about humanity, right? So this is what happens when you let capitalism run wild, when you don't fucking check it, when you don't regulate these motherfuckers. This is the result. Hey, sorry, I kept your apartment at fucking 52 degrees because I wanted to make an extra 17 cents. Like, this is how it ends. Jesus Christ, people need to wake up, man. The billionaires are the problem, the corporations are the problem, the corruption is the problem. You got to lock these motherfuckers up when they commit crimes. Right now, they have total impunity. Look at the Epstein class. Nobody's been arrested. A fucking 5-year-old immigrant kid who was adorable, Liam, he spent more time in prison than anybody in the fucking Epstein files. Think about that. You got page after page of torture and raping kids and all sorts of horrible stuff. None of them spent any time in prison, and the government isn't even going after them. But what are they doing? Locking up innocent people, including immigrant children. Like, get the fuck out of here. Man, we've lost our way. God damn it. All right, let me give you guys some more. So, there's this article in the New York Times where they talk about how Trump and Stephen Miller are in pursuit of a radical return to the immigration policies of 1924. We had an openly eugenicist immigration policy in 1924. And the whole idea behind that policy was, let's use the 1890 census. So they went back and used that census, and they said, we are going to severely limit the immigrants that come in here from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. So in other words, if you're like, Italian, or if you're from the countries which are now like the post-Soviet bloc countries, they didn't consider you white. Now it's actually different. You kind of are considered white if you're from there. But back then, they didn't consider you white if you were Italian, for example. And so they said, we're going to limit those people coming here to like 2%. And then everybody else, or excuse me, I think it was Asian immigrants in particular, they fully banned them. So it was an openly eugenicist immigration policy in 1924. And the New York Times explains how this is the goal of Trump and this is the goal of Stephen Miller. It's a eugenics-based immigration policy where effectively you try to implement white nationalism by your immigration policy, by limiting the number of people you allow in and what types of people you allow in. So everybody needs to understand that. There is a rich history of this in this country, and that rich history is this country being fascist. People get surprised when you tell them, hey, you do know that Adolf Hitler got a lot of his ideas from studying the South in America. People are like, wait, what? I didn't know that. Yes, exactly. Don't take my word for it. You can go read it yourself. You can go look it up yourself. You'll find it very quickly. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis got inspiration from what happened in the American South. And here you have Stephen Miller going, let's bring back the fucking the immigration policies of 1924. Although to be fair, they also want the economic policies of 1924 because that's deregulation and let the billionaires run wild. That's also what the Trump regime is doing. But just incredible, incredible stuff. This is actually good news. The Border Patrol Gestapo freak Greg Bavino, who was just replaced by Tom Homan in Minnesota, he was in Las Vegas for the past week or so. Apparently, he got kicked out of a Las Vegas bar. And apparently, the ICE Gestapo thugs, their lives are genuinely becoming a struggle because you have businesses are going, I don't want to do business with you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to allow you into my place of business because, other people become at risk if you come in here, right? Like, there's a backlash to what you guys are doing, and businesses don't want to deal with it. Just like all these ICE Gestapo thugs staying at the hotel, well, then you have, 300 protesters showing up, making loud noise at 3 o'clock in the morning. The hotel's going to go, look, I kind of want you to leave because you're fucking up all the other people who are coming here who are not causing any problems and who don't have a massive backlash to their very presence. And so, guys, the anti-ICE activism is working. The protesting is working. It's just making it practically impossible for these people to do what they want to do, right? And that's good. That's exactly what we want, is they're going around and rounding up innocent people, and like that has to stop. And we're finding a way to make it stop, and it's being stopped without us even going to violence, right? They're the violent ones. They're the criminals. But we are being peaceful and still somehow winning, still somehow forcing them out of their maximalist policies. So really incredible stuff here. Love that he got kicked out of a Las Vegas bar. And look, make it so they can't go anywhere, right? Make it so they can't go fucking anywhere because they deserve to be treated like that, and they're the modern day Gestapo. All right. Let's also talk about this. This is wild because to this point, what we've seen in a bunch of places is honestly the cops are low-key really fucking pissed off when ICE shows up in their territory, because ICE commits a lot of crimes, causes a lot of problems. The phones ring off the hooks for the cops, and they feel like, hey, there's nothing I could do here. And, you know, they might even want to do something, but they're getting marching orders of like, let ICE do whatever they're going to do. And so there's a little bit of a natural tension there, right? And you've even had some, you know, good police chiefs do press conferences basically being like, can you get the fuck out of here, please? Like, you guys are the ones committing crimes, and here's a list of crimes you've committed, okay? Now, having said that, some police departments are still fucking police departments, and they're the worst. So you have police in Kansas didn't like a newspaper opinion essay that a local man published. So they opened a criminal investigation of him and tracked his movements using a license plate reader, okay? So a guy wrote an op-ed that his local paper published, and it was critical of the police's cooperation with ICE. And then the police started using the license plate reader to track his whereabouts. Officers were told to, quote, make your own case, make up charges. So the police get criticized by this guy, and then they decide, okay, well, now you're public enemy number one, and now we're going to waste time, money, and resources and come after you. I mean, come on, guys. This is fucking ridiculous, which is why I keep saying to all the Democratic mayors, the Democratic state officials, you need to be clear. You need to explicitly give the green light. Hey, if ICE commits a crime, you arrest them. If CBP commits a crime, you arrest them. Nobody's above the law. They're going to learn that the fucking hard way. Okay, but instead, it's the opposite. They're getting like, hey, assist them in whatever they want to do. And then you get stories like this. Like, really? All the crimes committed by the ICE Gestapo thugs, and you're fucking going after some guy who wrote a mild op-ed saying, hey, please don't cooperate with them? Jesus Christ, man. But cops gonna cop. Some cops are gonna cop, right? But to this point, up until this story, it was looking very clear that in this national divorce, the left's flank was actually maybe going to get the police officers because they were the most fed up with ICE Gestapo thugs. But some of them are still fucking bootlickers, aren't they? That's what that story proves beyond any doubt whatsoever. All right, more. So Zoran Mamdani, we just did a segment about how his popularity is absolutely surging according to the polls. People love this guy. He gets in there, he immediately delivers on a bunch of his promises. Well, he apparently just signed an executive order that requires ICE to obtain a judicial warrant before entering property. To be fair, what he's saying here is already the law. Like, this kind of drives me crazy because the fact that we have to reiterate, hey, here's what the Constitution already says, it's so infuriating to me because it just shows how unserious Republicans are and how much they don't give a shit about the law at all, and they're just complete fascists, right? But at the same time, I appreciate the gesture here, basically reiterating to people, unless it's a fucking judicial warrant, do not comply. Don't open the door, don't let them search shit, don't let them bother you, don't let them on your property. I respect the fact that now you have a mayor who's at least trying to stand up for his people and telling them, nah, bro, y'all need a judicial warrant, because they have none. They have no judicial warrants. They go around with administrative warrants and lie and say that gives them a right to enter wherever they want to enter. They are wrong, factually, okay? So shout out to Zoran for doing that. I love the gesture, even though it's kind of infuriating that anybody needs to reiterate, hey, the Constitution is still the Constitution and you have to follow it, Republicans. All right, more. ICE is still doing checkpoints in Minneapolis. And everybody there was this head fake the other day where, oh, we're going to replace Bavino with Tom Homan, the human ham, and we're going to lower the number by 700 ICE thugs. And so everybody was like, okay, look, that's a good sign. And, you know, public pressure is getting to them, which is true to some extent. But on the flip side, I told you guys, this is also just a head fake. So it's not over till it's over. The protesters are doing phenomenal work. They've definitely gained ground. But Minneapolis is still occupied fucking territory. Okay? And Trump's thugs are still making life there impossible. So keep up the pressure. Don't stop. Keep protesting. Keep at what you're already doing, because it's not over. It's not done. I really think part of the point of this was to try to get the media to stop focusing on Minneapolis while they continue doing what they were doing. I think that's the idea. Trump wanted to give an optical or theatrical concession, right? It's all a show. And so the show is, oh yeah, we're drawing down 700. I brought in Hamhead Homan and got rid of Bavino. So yeah, totally. We're going softer now, bro. No problem whatsoever. And then they just continue with what they were doing. And it's the same trick. It's the same trick that I told you guys about when it came to Israel, where, oh, we got a ceasefire and a peace agreement. And then come to find out, every day since the so-called ceasefire, Israel's killed more Palestinians. Every day. Every fucking day. 500 Palestinians have been killed. They're stealing more territory. They're bulldozing more houses. Every day. So they lied. Why did Trump do that? To get the media to focus somewhere else. Hey, you guys got what you wanted. Now look away. And then they keep doing with the same old, same old. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So people of Minnesota, I'm with you. I'm still with you. I know what you're going through. I'm going to cover this as much as I possibly can. And I hope everybody realizes they're still fucking occupied. And ICE still needs to get the fuck out. Okay? All right, we also have this. This one is going mega viral online for obvious reasons. But you have a U.S. Marshal, so another federal goon, kicked a puppy in Memphis multiple times, breaking one of its ribs. And there's actually a video of it. So this is what the Gestapo thugs are doing now. And Crystal pointed out, they're literally like cartoonishly evil at this point. Like it is, like I don't even know how they can spin it in their own minds to pretend like they're the good guys when they're fucking assaulting puppies. They're assaulting puppies. And by the way, that's one way to for sure piss off people in this country. For sure. This country loves dogs more than they love people. Okay? So that story is going to make a lot of people who otherwise support these federal thugs, they're just going to make them go, excuse you? What'd you do? There should be charges on these motherfuckers. All right, more. Plus 972 magazine says that the United States is secretly deporting Palestinians that are in the U.S. to the West Bank in coordination with Israel. So Palestinians have been arrested by ICE, and they're being flown and bound and shackled on a private jet belonging to an Israeli-American tycoon close to Trump. It's a joint investigation that just showed this. By the way, these people are legal residents. They have green cards. And they're Palestinians, and they're being illegally rounded up and deported to the West Bank, where, by the way, they will immediately be under assault and occupation, because in the West Bank right now, there's mission creep, and you have these insane, violent settlers who are stealing more Palestinian land by the day and assaulting more Palestinians by the day. So this is serious. And there was a quid pro quo, as everybody knows, between Miriam Adelson and Trump, where Trump has said to Miriam Adelson, you give me $100 million, I'll let you guys annex the West Bank. And that's what they're in the process of doing. He already let them annex the Golan Heights in Syria in his first term against international law. Now he's going to let them do it in the West Bank. But they're deporting people who are in America. Legal residents of the U.S. are being rounded up and sent to the West Bank. This is crazy. This is crazy what we're witnessing here. The dehumanization of Palestinians is off the charts. And to have an Israeli-American tycoon lend his private jet for this, I mean, that is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This one is going to shock you guys. Apparently, in the national divorce, it looks like the left is going to get professional wrestling. So there was an AEW event, and Aaron Rupar says here, wow, what sounded like the entire AEW Dynamite audience in Las Vegas tonight chanted, fuck ICE, in unison before the main event. So the reason why this is shocking is because, wrestling crowds are generally viewed as more right-leaning. They've always sort of been like that. But now for this to be the case, I mean, like I said, you're getting some demographic groups that are shocking everybody and totally flipping based off of what everybody's perception is of their political beliefs. So, look, you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. All right, now I got to give you probably the biggest news of the day here. This, on top of maybe the Democratic Tea Party being in full effect. But this is crazy. So it's CBS News actually had this article, which to me is because they're a pro-Trump factory, basically. They're like a Zionist misinformation factory and a MAGA misinformation factory. And it's literally like at CBS, Barry Weiss is trying to revive the Epstein class. She's hired like a bunch of people who were in the fucking Epstein files, like Peter Attia, okay? But they have an article here. Who entered Epstein's jail tier the night of his death? Newly released video logs appear to contradict official accounts. And then they go on to show there's a video and there's some still images, and you see somebody very clearly wearing orange who goes into Jeffrey Epstein's cell just before he kills himself. So to this point, we were told, oh, nobody went in there. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. I don't even know what you mean. What? I don't even speak English. Okay? Well, now, it appears like there's hardcore evidence that indeed somebody did go in there before he killed himself. So just absolutely wild. That begs a lot of questions, bro. Because look, we know who had the motive, who wanted Epstein to kill himself, right? We know how much dirt he had on Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the president of the United States, okay? And he had the power to have this guy arrested. He had the power to order other things, potentially, as well. Then you get the comical stuff like, oh, the prison guards fell asleep. Like, bitch, what is this? Some, like, 1950s ass movie? Did they also, like, smell a pie on a windowsill and float towards it? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, the cameras stopped working. What? What are you talking? It's like, who believes this? Then you have the autopsy, and the autopsy says there's injuries that are consistent with homicide and not suicide. And now we learn, oh shit, somebody went in there before he killed himself. By the way, now we're at the point, because we can't get any actual straight, real answers, now we're at the point where a bunch of people are speculating they think he's still alive. They think he's still alive. There's been so much speculation around that because we can't get straight answers from this government because they're obviously in on the cover-up and they're obviously involved in whatever happened here, right? So that's where we're at. But now to have the video and to have the still images clearly showing somebody going in there, they've lied to us about every single aspect of this, guys. The Trump regime, remember the videos of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all these people go, there actually are no Epstein files. Epstein files? There's not even any files, bro. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what that means. No, the files are on my desk, but also there are no files. Also, there was no evidence that Epstein was trafficking anybody. But also, here's like 17,000 different instances of him doing exactly that. Like, it's a joke. These people are a joke. These people are a joke. Trump literally said it. He said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, you're going to hurt my friends if you release this. That's what he said. He's just saying it. Yes, I'm part of the Epstein class. I'm part of the pedophile, rapist, billionaire cabal of elite sadists. I'm in that, and I'm a leader in that, so don't release it. Incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And by the way, how much stuff is redacted? I'm sure there's so much we're not seeing. There's so much we're not seeing right now because Trump doesn't want it out there, and the FBI is illegally redacting information they have no right to redact. All right, more. This is crazy. This is crazy. So again, in CBS News, I'm going to read you from the article. Quote, Noelle, who remained standing at the cell entrance, told investigators she saw Thomas lower Epstein to the floor, but did not see a noose around his neck. The noose Epstein allegedly used has never been definitively identified. According to the Inspector General's report, a noose collected at the scene was later determined not to be the ligature used in Epstein's death. So the noose that was allegedly used by Epstein has never been identified, according to CBS, with the noose collected at the scene later determined not to be the actual noose that was theoretically used. Come on, man. What is going on? And you expect people to believe? I mean, you're now in like, JFK assassination territory, where the majority of people believe it wasn't lone gunman Lee Harvey Oswald, and we weren't told the truth about it. Like, that's the default perspective of Americans, because so much in the official report was total horseshit. And now we're at that point, maybe even surpassing that when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And people are right to feel like, I don't trust a fucking word any of these guys say. All right, let me give you some more. It now appears as though Jeffrey Epstein may have met with Trump Jr. in 2019, just months before he died. There's an email from the Jeffrey Epstein vacation at gmail.com email, and they go back and forth. Can we do a coffee with Don Jr. Thursday, Friday? Only if easy. As you know, I like people that are funny. And the response is, I'm back in New York the 14th to the 15th. I won't be here. Let me send you some dates. So Epstein very clearly trying to set up a meeting with Don Jr. in January of 2019. So they are hiding and lying about so much in this thing, man. I mean, Trump made it seem like he cut this dude off, what, in the 2000s? And now we got Don Jr. meeting with him. Never mind the fact, we showed you the email the other day. Epstein meeting in like 2015, I think it was. Like, oh, I'm having a meeting with Peter Thiel and Mark Zuckerberg. And it was like, and Elon Musk. There was like 3 or 4 billionaires that, oh yeah, I'm just having a meeting with them. Like, it's a big club and you ain't in it. You know, as the great George Carlin said, it's never been more clear. All right, more. Epstein's emails are full of disturbing coded language like this one. Quote, again, this is a direct email. I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, just so you don't have to drink juices from old hairy things. What the fuck? So that's from somebody named Nadia to a couple of Jeffrey Epstein's emails. I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, and they just arrived. Very yummy. I was going to ship them to you in Paris, but I hear you are coming back, so I will send them to 71st with Sarah, just so you don't have to drink juices from old hairy things. Okay, all right. In 2012, Epstein tells a Dutch supermodel in an email, quote, you owe me 2 girls. I would like a new toy as a present. This is a common theme in his pedo ring. He uses the women in his life as bait to lure in young girls. So again, this Epstein's available for anybody to read. And shout out to 50 Shades of Way on Twitter. He's been going through, I think he's like keyword searching certain like funky words, and he's getting all sorts of disturbing responses. You owe me 2 girls. I would like a new toy as a present. Oh my goodness. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, casually asking Epstein which gynecologist he sent his victims to. They redacted Mark's name, but not the email address, which other emails clearly show is his. He's never been arrested. And again, you could see the email very clearly. He asks, do you remember the name of the gynecologist that you used to send your victims to? Victims. He used the word victims. Jesus Christ. 50 Shades of Way also says, why would the word don't get redacted from any emails? Is an AI software automatically redacting Don T from all the files to protect Trump? This would explain why don't accidentally gets flagged for a redaction. And then there's a couple examples here. And yeah, it appears like there was a time where Epstein said, instead of don't with the apostrophe, he said Don T. Because you guys know, so many times when he types something, it's like half-assed. He's like barely literate, right? So it's like half-assed and like, you know, sloppily typed out. And it looks like this instance, it was Don T and it got redacted. And so that's what people are speculating, is that like, there's sort of like redactions that are going on. You know what I'm saying? And Don T was what the AI was taught to wipe out because they're going after anything that's like Trump or Don T, right? So we know they're hiding so much. So many, like there are no emails from anybody that's in the regime now. There's no direct emails to and from Epstein with them, right? Even though we know a lot of them knew Epstein. We're getting certain things that slip through in the body of the email. That's where we got like the Howard Lutnick stuff, for example. But they're clearly hiding so much involving them because we know about 30 people in the Trump regime are in the files. But they're hiding so much. All right. In 2013, someone said to Epstein in an email, quote, you offered to buy my baby 6 months into our relationship. What the fuck? What the fuck? So why is that person redacted? Why is that person redacted? From Jeffrey to redacted. You offered to buy my baby 6 months into our relationship in the midst of a longer message here. I'm at a loss. Quote, birth babies for black market use. Both names are redacted for this email, but it says birth babies for black market use. More depraved. Every time I learn more, it gets more and more depraved. Another thing people are speculating is if Jeffrey Epstein worked to rig the 2016 election for Trump using bots on social media, and there's some reason to believe based on some of the emails. So here, I'll read you this one. So there's this guy whose name is Zubair, and they say he is a cybersecurity genius, right? So back and forth they go here. Hi, Jeffrey. Looks like Trump is back in the game. We processed 11 million tweets this week for Trump, and 50.03% are positive, and only 20.66% are negative, whereas Clinton is 56% negative and 20% positive. We are trying to correlate that into popular vote outcome and electoral votes received. So it sounds like what he's describing is inauthentic bot activity to try to bolster Trump and hurt Hillary. And then he continues here. Hi, Jeffrey. We are in the process of removing data from bots and making a clean report, which I will share with you in a few hours. Overall, Trump is way more popular than Clinton. What is your heat map showing for Trump, Clinton? So they go back and forth on this, but a lot of people are speculating, was he involved with this? Because in the same way, we covered the story, the guy who founded the politically incorrect subreddit, where all these like right-wing conspiracy ideas were birthed out of, is this guy by the name of Moot. That guy, Moot, met with Jeffrey Epstein, and then immediately, upon leaving the meeting, he set up the politically subreddit, which helped birth Gamergate, helped birth MAGA and the Groyper. So it appears like right-wing politics, modern right-wing politics, is literally an Epstein-Israel psyop that a bunch of idiots fell for. They took the culture war bait, and they fell for it, okay? So in the same way he was involved in that, was he also directly involved with botting social media for Trump's 2016 victory? All right, more. Latest Epstein files reveal that someone admitted to murder in an email sent to Epstein. So this is to Jeffrey Epstein's vacation Gmail account from Redacted. I call him now my future husband, and we're talking about daughter. I thought I would never be able to kill somebody in my life. I was wrong. I might escape anyway. Miss you, Jeffrey. Big kiss, although now you probably won't like to kiss me anymore. And then there's some Russian stuff underneath it. So perhaps the nationality of this person is Russian. But there's the line, quote, I thought I would never be able to kill somebody in my life. This is on top of a bunch of emails that I already showed you invoking torture, a bunch of other ones invoking murder. Here's another one invoking murder. Just absolutely disturbing. Disturbing. We also have Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays, explaining to Epstein that he doesn't need to fear possible popular revolt against financial elites because capitalism and pop culture have pacified social movements and people now prefer consumer goods over social justice. So this guy Mike on Twitter quote tweeted that and pointed out, it's genuinely wild seeing every single left-wing political theory being proven absolutely right over the space of a few days. That's so true. It is so, we were more right than we even realized, bro. When you have like, who was it? Was it Jamie Dimon? When you have Epstein, like, basically talking to governments around the world and getting foreknowledge of that. And also, he's the middleman. He's the guy that bankers go to then put pressure on politicians to give the bankers special treatment. Like, we were even more right than we realized. There's a literal cabal of pedophile, billionaire, rapist, sadists, and somehow they have all the power, and they're the go-between for financial elites and governments, where they get the government to do the bidding of the financial elites. It is so, so crazy. All right, more. This one is wild. This one is wild. David McKillips, the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese, resigned because his name is in the Epstein files. That is super disturbing, and it sort of validates my theory that the ones you have to look out for the most are the guys who desperately want to be around kids, right? If you're a grown-ass man and you don't have kids of your own, and you're like trying to get involved in a business that has kids at the heart of it, you are sketchy as fuck. And now we know the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese is in the Epstein files. A multimillionaire British businessman who helped lead a global anti-trafficking charity faces questions over his links to Jeffrey Epstein after email suggested that the convicted sex offender introduced him to several young women. This is from the Times, the Sunday Times. That is so crazy. So yet again, it's the ones you most expect, but others might least expect them. I'm leading an anti-trafficking charity. And this motherfucker is directly involved with that shit. Okay? I expect those people, but a lot of other people might not. They might be genuinely shocked. But no, these are the ones who are most sketchy, most sus. How about this one? LifeTouch, the company taking school photos of children, is owned by Shutterfly. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of Shutterfly. Shutterfly was acquired by Apollo Global Management, co-founded by Leon Black, a billionaire previously mentioned in the Epstein files, and there's all sorts of allegations that he's like biting underage women and they're bleeding, underage girls, and they're bleeding. The photos are uploaded to databases run by a company whose owner was also involved with Epstein and sued for rape of a 16-year-old girl. So again, here you have the company that's directly involved in taking school photos of children. The people at the top of that company are involved with fucking Jeffrey Epstein. There's nothing sacred to these people, bro. I'm telling you, these elites are the devil. They're actually the devil. So there are your Epstein updates, and I did want to leave you with one more piece of horrible news that you have to look out for. But last night we learned that there was a memo sent out to everybody who works at the U.S. Embassy in Iran. U.S. Virtual Embassy Iran issues a security alert telling U.S. citizens, leave Iran now. Leave Iran now, have a plan for departing Iran that does not rely on U.S. government help. Flight cancellations and disruptions are possible with little warning. Check directly with your airlines for updates. So it goes on here. Keep your phone charged, yada, yada. But U.S. Virtual Embassy in Iran issues a security alert telling U.S. citizens, leave Iran now. Not good. Because, you know, I've been fearing this. There's so much going on that makes Trump look horrible. And we know the way he thinks because he accused Obama of this. Every time Obama dipped in his approval rating, Trump would post like, he's going to attack Iran now, watch. He's going to attack Iran. I guarantee you he's going to attack Iran now, watch. And no, that's not what Obama did. That's how Trump thinks. So he thinks my poll numbers are going down. All right, let me do a war. You know, Epstein files come out. Let me distract that. Let me do a war. And he thinks there'll be a rally around the flag effect and people will support him more if he does it. So I'm worried of an attack against Iran at any moment. And you know the Israelis are putting a colossal amount of pressure on him to do it. So not good. Not good. Genuinely something to worry about. As of right now, they haven't attacked, but there's some signs already that we're on the brink. So round 2 against Iran might be happening. I hope it's not the case. I hope I'm dead wrong. But, you know, I wouldn't bet on that. All right, guys, that's what I got for you right now. Everybody have a great rest of your day. By the way, go sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends. You're going to want to see the episode that drops tonight. We'll have some teaser clips up there for you, but the overwhelming majority of the episode is going to be on Substack. Sign up on Substack to see the whole thing. We had a great conversation. Me, Crystal, and Mac, also known as Good Politic Guy, who has an awesome YouTube channel. You should definitely check it out. We talk about a whole bunch of shit. We go through a Trump interview that just dropped where he's out of his fucking mind. And we also talk about how Elon Musk was whining and crying about, you know, not being happy even though he's nearly worth $1 trillion. We talk about that and much more. So everybody sign up for that below. And I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.